Imagine this. You're lying in bed, safe, comfortable. Your parents are in the next room. The house is locked. You're only 14. The world feels safe. And then, a knife touches your neck. A voice whispers, "Don't make a sound or I'll kill you and your family." This is not fiction. This is exactly what happened to Elizabeth Smart on the night of June 5, 2002. A night that would rip her from everything she knew. She was kidnapped from her own bedroom while her little sister watched, frozen in fear. In that one night, her life turned into a waking nightmare. But this is not just a story of terror. It's a story of resilience, of hope, and of forgiveness. And as we unfold her journey, you'll see why Elizabeth Smart is not just a survivor, she's a hero. Elizabeth's kidnapping shook the nation. Her parents, Ed and Lois Smart, went public immediately. TV stations, newspapers, and billboards all screamed her name. While the world searched, Elizabeth was taken deep into the mountains behind her Salt Lake City home. Her kidnapper, Brian David Mitchell, a self-proclaimed prophet, chained her, dressed her in robes, and claimed she was now his wife. For 9 horrifying months, Elizabeth endured starvation, rape, brainwashing, and fear that her family might be killed if she tried to escape. And yet, she survived. Not by fighting back with fists, but by using something stronger, her mind. She listened, she watched, she waited, and, most of all, she hoped. Mitchell was no common criminal. He believed he was a prophet chosen by God. He had long hair, a long beard, and wore flowing robes. He quoted scripture twisted to suit his dark delusions. He controlled Elizabeth through religion, fear, and manipulation. He even forced her to walk through crowds fully veiled. The irony? Elizabeth walked past police officers several times, but no one recognized her. She had been made invisible. He stripped her of identity, of voice, of choice, and yet her spirit endured. Because deep inside her, something powerful refused to die: her belief in her worth, her family, and her God. While Elizabeth was enduring unspeakable horrors, her family was fighting a war of their own, the war of not knowing. Each day, her parents pleaded on TV. Each night, they cried themselves to sleep. Her little sister, Mary Catherine, only 9 at the time, remembered a critical detail weeks later. The kidnapper's voice sounded like a man named Emmanuel, someone who had once worked on their house. That clue changed everything. With a police sketch, media push, and national attention, people began to report sightings. Then, on March 12, 2003, almost 9 months after the kidnapping, Elizabeth Smart was found walking down a suburban street in Sandy, Utah, with Brian Mitchell and his wife, Wanda Barzee. She was alive. Against all odds, she had survived. The world celebrated. The Smart family rejoiced. But for Elizabeth, freedom was more complicated. She had lived under constant fear. Her identity had been buried, her innocence stolen. And then the questions came. Why didn't you run away? Why didn't you scream? These questions haunted her, but they revealed a deep misunderstanding of trauma, especially for child victims. Elizabeth stayed silent for months, not because she was broken, but because she was healing, because wounds that deep take time to close. When Brian David Mitchell finally stood trial in 2010, 8 years after the kidnapping, Elizabeth walked into the courtroom not as a victim, but as a witness. She stared him down. She described in painful detail what he had done. Her calm, unwavering voice shattered the courtroom silence. Her words pierced the heart of the nation. Mitchell was sentenced to life in prison. Wanda Barzee received 15 years and was controversially released in 2018. Elizabeth, now an adult, chose not to let their fate define hers. Most people would want to hide, but not Elizabeth. She took her pain and turned it into power. She launched the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, advocating for missing children and survivors of sexual assault. She became a speaker, author, and activist, sharing her story across the country. She testified before Congress, helped pass laws, trained law enforcement, and, more than anything, she gave hope to those who felt voiceless, to every parent afraid to lose a child, to every survivor who thinks they're alone. She became their beacon. Perhaps the most astonishing part of Elizabeth's story isn't her survival, it's her forgiveness. She doesn't speak with anger or hate. She speaks with strength and grace. "I will never let my captors take one more second of my life," she once said. Forgiveness, for her, wasn't about letting them off the hook. It was about reclaiming her peace. It was about saying, "I decide who I am, not you." And in that, she achieved something even greater than escape: freedom of the soul. Today, Elizabeth is a wife, a mother of 3, and a force of nature. She lives a life many might call normal. But it's anything but. Because behind her calm smile lies a storm she conquered. Behind her, every word is a world of pain and power. She often speaks to young girls, encouraging them to fight, to speak up, to believe in their worth, no matter what's happened to them. In a world full of darkness, Elizabeth Smart shines as a light of hope, resilience, and dignity. She's living proof that even after unimaginable trauma, one can rise and even thrive. Elizabeth's story is not just about survival. It's a reminder that strength isn't loud, that courage often looks like waiting, listening, and hoping, that even in our darkest nights the human spirit can rise. So if you're watching this and you've faced trauma, heartbreak, or hopelessness, know this: you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not your past. You have the power to rise, to reclaim your story. If Elizabeth Smart could survive the unthinkable, so can you. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories that inspire, uplift, and bring courage. And remember, hope is never lost, as long as you choose to hold on.